The petitioners challenging President Donald Trump's global tariffs have urged the U.S. Supreme Court to uphold the lower court ruling that the import duties amount to a massive illegal taxation on American firms. In a docket brief on the 20th of October, one of the petitioners, learning sources, said that Trump had subverted the Congress's authority to tax with import duties in February and April, using an emergency law that was never intended to impose tariffs. Now, the Supreme Court justices are set to hear the arguments on the 5th of November in the high-stakes case. Earlier, Trump had said that he would go to the Supreme Court for the hearing. On Trump's back and forth on tariffs since February, sources in a brief to the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "In the months since, he has raised and lowered, paused and resumed and threatened and unthreatened tariffs at will for a grab bag for reasons." The company added, by the government's own account, those actions amount to over $3 trillion of tax increase on Americans over a span of a decade. The legal challenge to tariffs had come in April. That was shortly after Trump had imposed reciprocal tariffs on almost the entire world on the 2nd of April, on Liberation Day. The Selections and other import companies had filed a lawsuit on the 14th of April. Learning Resources and Hand to Mind had filed a case on the 22nd of April, and a group of 12 U.S. states had filed a parallel lawsuit on the 23rd of April, while California had filed a separate case on the 16th of April. In the month of May, the U.S. Trade Court had ruled against Trump and had called the tariffs imposed under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act to be illegal. That law gives the president many financial tools to address national security, foreign policy, or an economic emergency. The trade court's decision was upheld by a federal appeals court later in August. In early June, the petitioners had failed to get an expedited relief from the Supreme Court. In September, the Supreme Court had consolidated the cases and it scheduled oral arguments for the 5th of November. For now, though, the tariffs remain in place, and even though the lower courts have ruled that the president had exceeded his authority by imposing the import duties.